presence of our Lord is in this place. You may be seated. God's presence is in this place. God's presence is in all places. God holds us. Again, as we were gathering and moving away from Camp Sunday, I looked to the lectionary. And the story from the lectionary in this season of Lent is we're in the season of John. John writes these long stories. Last week we heard about Nicodemus. Today is the story of the woman at the well. And I'm going to read to you in story form from the Message. Hear these words from John, the story. So Jesus left the Judean countryside and went back to Galilee. To get there, he had to pass through Samaria. He came into Sychar, a Samaritan village that bordered the field Jacob had given his son Joseph. Jacob's well was still there. Jesus, worn out by the trip, sat down at the well. A woman, a Samaritan, came to draw water, and Jesus said, "Would you give me a drink of water?" His disciples had gone to the village to buy food for lunch. The Samaritan woman, taken aback, said, "How come you, a Jew, are asking me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink?" Jews in those days wouldn't be caught dead talking to Samaritans. Jesus answered, "If you knew the generosity of God and who I am, you would be asking me for a drink, and I would give you fresh, living water." The woman said, "Sir, you don't even have a bucket to draw with, and this well is deep. So how are you going to get this living water? Are you a better man than our ancestor Jacob, who dug this well and drank from it, he and his sons and livestock, and passed it down to us?" Jesus said, "Everyone who drinks this water will get thirsty again and again. Anyone who drinks the water I give will never thirst. Not ever. The water I give you will be an artesian spring within, gushing fountains of endless life." The woman said, "Sir, give me this water so I won't ever get thirsty, won't ever have to come back to this well again." He said, "Go, call your husband and then come back." "I have no husband," she said. "That's nicely put. I have no husband. You had 5 husbands, and the man you're living with now isn't even your husband. You spoke the truth there, sure enough." "Oh, so you're a prophet? Well, tell me this. Our ancestors worshipped God at this mountain, but you Jews insist that Jerusalem is the only place for worship, right? Believe me, woman, the time is coming when you Samaritans will worship the Father, neither here at this mountain nor there in Jerusalem. You worship guessing in the dark. We Jews worship in the clear light of day. God's way of salvation is made available through the Jews. But the time is coming. It has in fact come when what you're called will not matter and where you go to worship will not matter. It's who you are and the way you live that count for God. Where you go to worship will not matter. It's who you are and where you live that count before God. Your worship must engage your spirit in the pursuit of truth. That's the kind of people the Father is out looking for. Those who are simply and honestly themselves before Him in their worship. God is sheer being itself, spirit. Those who worship Him must do it out of their very being, their spirits, their true selves in adoration. The woman said, I don't know about that. I do know that the Messiah is coming. When He arrives, we'll get the whole story. I am He, said Jesus. You don't have to wait any longer or look any further. Just then the disciples came back, and they were shocked. They couldn't believe He was talking with that kind of woman. No one said what they were thinking, but their faces showed it. The woman took the hint and left. In her confusion, she left the water pot. Back in the village, she told the people, come, see, a man who knew all about the things I did, who knows me inside and out. Do you think this could be the Messiah? And they went out to see for themselves. A story from John to us. Amen. Let us pray. O God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. We know we're in the season of Lent. We know that this season of Lent has turned into a very different season than we have ever experienced before. Pandemics that none of us know anything about. Illnesses that we're trying to figure out day by day how to keep people from getting it. But the good news is that Easter always comes. Even if we're still not allowed to gather together in a place to worship together, remember what I just read to you. Easter always comes. The text today, the Samaritan woman, speaking to a woman. Jesus was speaking to a woman. In that day and age, that was so not good. Social boundaries were being crossed. Religion, ethnicity, however you say that word, and gender. All of those were being crossed by Jesus. The text tells us that light has entered her dark world. Light has entered our world. Water versus living water. Panic versus precautions. Just like the life of the Samaritan woman, our lives are being changed. There's anxiety and panic and fear and denial. But the text says It's who you are and the way you live that count before God. So let's talk. COVID-19 is not something any of us have ever thought about or talked about before. Thing is, this isn't a snow day. Just because school is canceled and things are being canceled, this is not a snow day. This is about helping one another understand how we take care of one another. Yes, our world has changed. We don't want people to get ill. And the thing is, that's why schools are canceled and things are canceled. The children might not get ill. We might not get ill. And the thing is, if nothing happens, that's good news. Because that means we've flattened the curve of taking care of people. We have many older people in our congregation, in our world. There are nursing homes we can't go visit. My dad, we can't go see. And in that nursing care facility, which is one of our own United Church homes, they are even taking more precautions. The people will be in their rooms. There will be no activities for them. And their meals will be brought to them. Think about how this is affecting you. And now think about how is it affecting people who have some dementia or Alzheimer's or mental health. We need to flatten the curve. We need to help one another. Our conference minister, the Reverend Dave Long-Higgins, who many of you have met, has asked that our churches close. Not cancel worship, but close. So that we find new ways to figure out how to worship and share our spiritual, religious beings. Our denominational leadership, John Dorhauer and Tracy and Karen, have asked us to help one another, but to help to flatten the curve. There are many people that think this might just be the flu. It's not. A friend of mine this morning told me that he has been talking to the governor. He works with them. He's also a UCC pastor. That the governor is paying attention and may close down all places of worship if we can't figure out how to help that ourselves. I have a college friend who lives in Italy, Janin. They've been on they live in Italy, so they can't be out and about. But they're finding new ways to figure out who they are and how to help one another. They go for walks. Their family is spending time together. They're not running off to all kinds of practices. And in Italy, if you haven't seen it, on the streets, the tenor that sang beautifully. The reason these things are needing to happen is because there aren't enough beds to take care of the people who are ill. Just the regular illnesses, and then add to it the fact that this is causing major health issues. Living water versus water. Worshiping together or worshiping in new ways. So I have some thoughts. And I know that not everybody has technology, and so we will try to be as creative as we can. But it's not just up to me, it's up to all of us to take care of one another. To reach out to your neighbors, to reach out to our church members, to help people with food and groceries and medicines, to wash your hands and rewash your hands and wash your hands again. Today we gather in here because yesterday a couple of us came and wiped down all the pews and the hymnals and the Bibles and the door handles so that we could be and try to have a safe space. So I will be sending out email updates. We will be doing Facebook Live as best as we can. We will be praying. We will be giving generously. Send the money to the church. Writing a check and sending it in the mail has been told us by the CDC is okay. So please don't stop giving to your church. But stay away from it. Now, I don't mean stay away from people. I mean in proximity. I mean connect with one another. Pick up the phone call. Pick up your phone and call somebody. Text somebody. If you have iPhones, you can FaceTime people. Check on them. Offer what help you can. This week I saw this, and it spoke to me. What, if done by the church in the midst of a pandemic, would cause neighbors to be stunned by their kindness, courage, generosity, faith, hope, and love? Do that. So let's choose peace. Let's choose love. Let's choose compassion. Let's choose caring and kindness and helping. Faith, not fear. And as Isaiah 43 tells us, but now thus says the Lord, he who created you, O Jacob, he who formed you, O Israel, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior. I give Egypt as your ransom, Ethiopia and Seba in exchange for you, because you are precious in my sight and honor, and I love you. God's words of hope for us. We are blessed. We are filled with God's love. Share compassion. Share love. Living water versus water. Let's share the living water of God. Go in peace.